This is another archival upload of some of my previous mix critique videos. I apologize for the vertical format that this video is about to switch to. This is 176 to 180. This was sent in by Paolo. Got a decent frequency spread here. Biggest things I'm noticing right off the bat, the cymbals and the snare are poking out too much over the top of everything. Like the cymbals a lot, the snare just a little bit, but they're overpowering the rest of the track. You got to get those tucked into the mix more.
Maybe soon you'll see with your own eyes and I will meet you there.
The biggest thing right now is the cymbals are kind of harsh. You're probably pushing a little too much in the like 2 to 5K area on the cymbals. The other problem is you're not really getting any low end here. Like you have solid low mids, like the low mids sound pretty good, which is going to be good for most playback systems, but I'm assuming you're on a system that you don't have a lot of good low end response because pretty much everything below like 150 Hertz is missing. Like, I mean, it's there, but it needs to be louder. It needs to be pushed a lot more than it is. And so it's just like, as a result, the track sounds a little thin because it's lacking that low end energy. Anything that has decent low end response, that's going to be a noticeable problem. I think also it sounds like you got a general lack of compression on the bass, especially. You could probably compress the guitars a little bit more, but really the vocals are severely under compressed in this. Like you need to add a lot more compression to at least the vocals to keep it a little more consistent and give it a little bit of a lift over everything else. This was sent in by Finn. Sounds pretty good so far, but it definitely feels like the low mids are lacking a little bit. It sounds like you have a somewhat decent amount of low end, but I think the low mids need to be brought up a little. Other than that, you're definitely pushing a little too much in like the 1 to 3K area, like those cut through frequencies. So that's probably part of why the low mids feel like they're lacking. If you brought that down, that would be a little bit better. But other than that, it sounds pretty solid.
Move to Hollywood and make a watch the post on the wall.
I think part of why it feels empty in the low mids, it seems like the only thing occupying the space below like 200 Hertz is the kick drum, which is weird because it sounds like you have synths in there that should have a good amount of bass based on what the basic tone sounds like, but they don't seem to really exist in the low mid frequency, which just doesn't make sense. I don't know if you just cut it all out, like if you just high passed all those synths way too much or what, but like that's probably why the track sounds a little weird to me. Is that the only thing occupying those low mids and the low frequencies is the kick drum. Like if there are other elements that you haven't cut those frequencies out of, they're mixed way too low. You got to bring those up to fill out the low mids and the low end a lot more. I actually feel the need to put a warning before this critique. Do not use headphones with this. Do not put this through speakers. Listen to this critique only on your phone speaker, because if you have anything that can actually recreate low end, you're going to lose your hearing. That's how bad this guy fucked up. This was sent in by Robert. That sub was so ridiculously overpowering. Like damn near blowing up my fucking speakers overpowering. Fix that. I literally have to turn this down so my monitors don't fucking explode. You must be listening on a system that does not have sub-frequency playback. You're probably boosting 50 Hertz and like, oh, I still can't hear it. I'm boosted it some more. Oh, I still can't. It's because the system you're listening on will not recreate those frequencies. Those are so overpowering. Like literally my speakers almost exploded. If I had a subwoofer in here, I would probably be fucking deaf now. Okay, I normally don't do this in the mix critiques, but you guys need to see this. I'm gonna hit play on this track and I want you to watch the frequency imbalance here. Some of these higher frequencies are getting as low as -3 sometimes, but your subs, especially right around 50 Hertz, are peaking as high as +12. Like there should not be 15 dB differences in your overall frequency levels. This was sent in by Jackson. All right, sounds pretty decent so far. The drums sound not amazing, especially the snare. There's like a weird resonant thing going on in the snare. Like I would find that weird, like boxy sounding resonance and get rid of that. The guitars sound really good. The bass sounds pretty good, but I wish it was filling out the low mids a little more than it actually is. I feel like there's a space between the low end of the guitar and the low end of the kick drum, and that should tend to be filled by the bass guitar, and it just feels like it's not. Other than those two things, it sounds pretty good so far. All right, you definitely boosted the sub frequencies and the kick a little too much. It's kind of overpowering everything else. It's probably another situation where you just don't have a playback system that can really recreate those low end frequencies. So basically just don't boost the subs so much in the kick drum. It's starting to sound really muddy in the low end. All right, man, so overall it's not bad. There's really two main problems I'm hearing here. The drums, it sounds like you boosted the subs on all of them, but especially the kick and the toms. Again, it sounds like you're boosting a frequency range that you can't actually hear on whatever you're listening on, so watch out for that. Other than that, the toms, it seems like you're boosting weird frequencies in the toms that don't really sound great. Find some better frequencies to boost in the toms, or don't boost those frequencies quite as much because it's making them sound weird. So sent in by Larry. And this is just the week of overpowering sub frequencies, huh? Larry, you're almost as bad as the guy 2 critiques ago. Like, your sub frequencies are boosted way too much. Once again, you're probably listening on something that you can't actually hear those frequencies on, so you're boosting them too much. Like, it's overpowering. It's borderline painful. It's not as bad as the guy 2 critiques ago, but you're getting really close to it. Your mid-range also feels super empty. Like, you boosted everything from the low mids and below, and then the actual mid-range is like super low, and then the high mids and above are a little higher, so it's like you're kind of getting the smiley face thing, but it's really overpowering in the low end. Yeah, man, especially the kick drum. It's like super boomy. It does not sound good. I can't even give you any other tips other than that. Like, don't boost the subs so much. Even the low mids, you're boosting a little too much. Like, your whole low end is way overpowering. It's making things start to distort. It does not sound good. Fix your low end. Find some way to monitor the low end better so you can actually hear what you're doing in those lower frequencies. But yeah, again, not as bad as 2 critiques ago, but like you're borderline damaging my speakers as well.